Bruce is truly a dedicated overachiever. I am honored to introduce to you Dr. Bruce Colell.
Overachiever, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's my really honor to be here tonight, receiving this recognition. And be with a group of people that are receiving the recognition. I sometimes think whether I would ever reach their level, but hopefully I'm with the same group, and I have. So, when I was asked to give a 5-minute speech, my first thing was that I'm a music director, I'm not a politician, I don't know if I can talk for 5 minutes. You know. Is that right, Mike? Okay. I'd like to thank Darren for having me as one of the group, and Mike Morgan for nominating me. He's been after me a couple of years, and finally, okay, I did. People ask me, what's your philosophy for your success? And I've been thinking about that, and actually, when it comes down to it, and I'll have to read it because I wrote it down, it says, to motivate students to achieve their goals, not mine, their goals, and then give them the vehicle to do it. That's what I've been doing as a music teacher. Special thanks for the people that are on my success team, and there's many of them, but I'd like to recognize a few right now. My wife, Christy, of 47 years, family, Casey, and Alexis, and Caleb, and Luke, and Dominique, and Jeff, and my new grandson, Bruce. Let's give him a nice hand, thanks. And of course, Bob Briggs, and surely Mike Morgan. Mike Morgan supported us on 2 trips to China. We were just talking about those trips. They were wonderful. We did 10 concerts in 14 days or something like that on each trip, performing for the universities, colleges, high schools, and a huge grammar school. Yes. Also, someone who's been very important in my teaching career is Mary Rose. Mary Rose was a friend of ours that when I would take a trip, you have to have so many parents, go on these trips with you. And she was always there saying, I'll go with you, Bruce. And thank you very much, Mary Rose. My team for success was my choirs that were at St. Mary Magdalene. I directed the choir there 23 years. And we are like a family. We still, not in the last year or so, but we would rehearse after I left the church and just retired. We would still rehearse because we were just a family. An important person for success for a teacher is the captain of the ship, is the principal. You got a good principal, things go well. You got a good administrator, things go well. Otherwise, it's an uphill climb. And my best administrator was my Monsignor Hughes from the church. I had him 23 years. He was my administrator. And under his guidance, I took the choir to Rome and had a private audience with the Pope, John Paul II, who of course now is a saint, which was really fabulous. He never said no to me. Whatever I wanted to do, he said, fine, do it. After I proved myself, do it. Other people that were very effective in my life, my principal, Terry Tackett, Betty Wyatt, who was the band booster. I had the band and the choir, and the jazz band, jazz choir. And Marie Ventura, I started the Latin music for the high schools in Oxnard School District, and it spread to the Ventura School District. I used to rehearse the jazz band at lunch in the band room, and one of the boys said, gosh, Dr. Colell, we'd like to learn some Hispanic music, some Mexican music. do you know any? And I went, oh, sure, I can play La Raspa. And as it turned out, we got a teacher from UCLA to come up every Tuesday night and teach them what real mariachi was. And from that group, it splintered off into another group, another group, another group. I judged the mariachi contest about 4 years later, 5 years later, we had 350 mariachi kids on the stage. It just was overwhelming. I thank Dr. Davis for the meeting we had because the band directors in the district did not want mariachi in the music program because mariachi students don't read music, they just play by ear. And so they had no music that they could teach them. But Dr. Davis says, Colell wants it, and we got it. So it was put in the school district. Thank you, Gary. Another person was Linda Ayerza. She was the drill team teacher when I first took over the band, and she sort of straightened me out as to how Camarillo High School band was supposed to work, because I was from Channel Islands. Linda Valdez, who you met already, she was the English department chairman, and she was so nice. She gave me the classes that I could handle when I was teaching English. The only person that ever said no to me was Ernie Lucas. He was in charge of the science department. And he said no because one summer when I was trying to teach a summer class, I applied and I was accepted to teach a class in the science department. And Ernie came up to me and says, Colell, no. I will not let you teach that class. Why not? It was chemistry. And he said, you'd blow the school up. So, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the football coaches. They were very cooperative with the band. Never had a problem with a football coach. And one coach in particular that I really have to thank, when I was the girls gymnastics coach, Ron Wilson was the wrestling coach. And he had the girls activity room. And it was his pride and joy. And guess what? It was called the girls activity room. It was not called the wrestling room until he came. So he shared that with me. Every day we'd have to roll the mats up, roll the mats back. And if you know wrestling, they've got these huge mats. It's quite a problem. Thank you very much, Ron. I'd like to thank Steve Stocks. He was the fellow that hired me. And he also approved, he wanted a school song. So I wrote the school song for Channel Islands High School, their alma mater, and he approved that. So that's really fun to go to Channel Islands and see my song in their gymnasium hall. And of course, Ken Benefield, who was a track coach. And in those days when Channel Islands just opened up, there were only a few students that were really talented. And some of the band students ran track. And he cooperated with me fully to get that first year going. Teaching techniques. My best technique was to start my classes before the bell rang. I would start the band and sit there at the piano, start playing, and they'd pick up their instruments and start playing right along with me. So it got to be that the band always started on time, or even, closer than that. I taught my jazz girls to improvise while they sang. And I can remember one, I had little techniques. I had one big contest. It was the Southwest contest, which we won first place. And one of the judges came up and said, I want to talk to you, Colell. Can you take a walk behind the gym? I said, sure. So I went behind the gym and she says, what do you do? How do you teach those girls to improvise? I mean, every single girl right down the line did it. And guess what? I spilled the beans. I told her my technique, and I thought, well, I complimented me. And just to find out that a year and a half later, she published a book. And they had my techniques in that book. And of course, I got all the credit in the world. No, I did not. I had the girls' dance team, the drill team, the lyrical dance, the military dance, and I would take them to camps. Because I accompanied them to summer camps, and I realized that the team went here, one team went to this camp, another team went to that camp. I decided to make my own camps, and I brought them together with my band parents, and I'd take 130 kids off someplace for 5 days, and we'd learn all of our activities and what have you. During that, I got really close with one of the drill team captains, and she said, I want to try something new, and I said, what's that? She said, you'll see, it was a surprise. So we went to the first contest. I took them to many, many contests to see how they skill leveled. And she did a hip hop. She had the kids work on not lyrical dance or jazz dance, it was hip hop. Who would ever heard of hip hop? That has now become a traditional competition. You know, just from that one start that we had from that girl. And I just said, go with it, sweetie. I took, some of you see the Super Bowl, you know what that is, right? I took the University of Arizona band was asked to do the first Super Bowl, #1. I was the assistant band director at that time, and I had just signed a contract to teach in Channel Islands. So I said, Jack, I cannot go with you. He was the band director, but you know, he says, I'm going to use your routines. So when you look at that first Super Bowl and you see the routines that are made, the trumpet and the boat and all this other stuff, those are the diagrams that I did for the University of Arizona band. We had Hurt. L. Hurt was one of the soloists. I met a woman at that camp at that time who remembered me. I took my dance team and drill teams to all these contests, and she came up to me and says, do you remember me, Bruce? And I said, no. She said, I'm Dorothy, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, very good. Well, a couple of years later, I kept taking my teams to her organizations. And a couple of years later, she called and said, I am contracted to do all of the stuff for the Super Bowl 28. Would you do it with me? And I said, yeah. So I was in charge of all the field activities for Super Bowl 28. Some of you might remember, it was at the Rose Bowl. We had, let's see, Michael Jackson was one of the leads in that, and also Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks beating Michael Jackson. That was really cool. So a couple of years later after that, she gave me a call and said, Bruce, we were so successful, they want me to do the World Cup. Will you do it with me? And I said, yes, I will. Again, I was in charge of all field activities. And when I'm in charge of the activities, I get my students to come and perform. I got Camarillo, not Channel Islands, Rio Mesa, Newbury Park, cheerleaders, song leaders, drill team, and we loaded 2 buses, and we learned all the routines, and we did everything. So I tried to include people in the county. And at that one was Pele, Whitney Houston, and Kenny G. Some of you might remember those names. How's my time?
You're all
Over. Okay. Big question that I'll pass on all the countries that we went to. You know, all those countries. The Bahamas, Virgin Islands, Hawaii, China, Italy, England, more. Puerto Rico, yeah, here we go. The question is, Colell, would you do it again? You better believe it, I would. Thank you.